Hi, I'm Arthur Kurland, Director of Capital and Asset Management at University Health in San Antonio, Texas. I led University Health to become the world's first accredited ISO 55001 hospital for its asset management system. The comments and opinions you hear during this webinar are of my own and my own experience. They do not represent University Health or any of its affiliates. This is a summary of a full day course that I will present in April. So what is personal property? I like to call it stuff. Personal property is anything that you can take with you if you were to move from one building to another. It is not the building itself or anything that is affixed to the building or the land or land improvements. Organizations have some common elements. They have people and they have property. Property can be broken down into two categories: real property, the building, and personal property, the stuff inside the building. People are generally managed by a human resources department. Real property is generally managed by a facilities department. So who's managing all that stuff? You might be surprised to know that the US Census Bureau shows that most organizations with employees actually spend more money on equipment than they do in structures. And it makes sense when you think about it. A building is meant to last decades, whereas the equipment gets replaced a lot more often. And so that explains why organizations actually spend more money on their furniture, fixtures, and equipment than they do on structures over time. Human resources generally represents the highest cost an organization incurs. Property is generally the second highest cost an organization incurs. But look at what we do to manage human resources. Generally, it begins with a need for a position. There's a job description. There's an interview process. There's a new hire orientation. There's on-the-job training. There's cross-training. There's annual performance evaluations, continuous learning. It goes on, sometimes even an exit interview. And we do that because what's the alternative? This is the highest cost an organization incurs, and it needs to be managed with that kind of diligence. Property also has a life cycle that begins with a need. Requests for proposals are generated and vendors bid on those requests. Vendors are selected. An item goes through a purchase order approval process. It's ordered, it's received, it gets delivered to the department that orders it, and then hopefully it gets used for its intended purpose. But things happen along its life cycle. It breaks, it goes out for repair, it gets borrowed, and on until someday somebody decides it's no longer needed and it gets disposed. And we do a pretty good job when it comes to the real property of managing that life cycle. But the personal property is generally undermanaged. There may be departments that manage particular categories of personal property, but there's no transparency, and senior leadership is generally left in the dark of that personal property activity. Everything that happens along the personal property life cycle has financial impact. This is an example of an organizational financial statement. They usually consist of an income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. And they're all interrelated, and property plays a part in all of these statements. Depreciation expense is represented on the income statement. The net book value of your furniture, fixtures, and equipment is on the balance sheet. And the cash flow is where the adjustments are made to non-cash activities. This is the language in which senior leaders are familiar with. My course will go through in detail how property relates to these financial statements so that you can communicate with those senior leaders. So we have human resources as an umbrella to manage the people. We have facilities as an umbrella to manage real property. But again, who's managing all that stuff? By not having an asset management department, that umbrella is missing. So my course will show you how to speak with senior leaders in their own language to create an umbrella department or an asset management department to manage all the personal property activity that's going on in segregated departments to help them make better business decisions. My course will go through an example of a personal property life cycle and all the processes and procedures within each life cycle activity. I'll also show you how you can make sure that your information is accurate and how to present that information to senior leaders. The speed at which an asset management system comes to maturity really depends on senior leadership support. But it is done in increments with continuous improvement along the way. My course will show you how you can take simple steps and modify what you are probably already doing to show senior leadership the power of a structured approach to asset management and gain their support. I'll show you how you can engage the entire organization in asset management, breaking down department silos, working in unison to get the most value of your organization's personal property. Please join me on April 18th for a full day session on applied personal property asset management principles for hospitals and any asset-intensive organization. I'm Art Kurland. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you in April.